So my name is Molly Fitzgibbons. It is truly a unique experience growing up in small Catholic schools. One endures ugly uniforms, mandatory masses, and a lot of trips to nursing homes. As a little kid, I enjoyed growing up in a small community. As I entered middle school and high school, I came to realize that it was a small community in every way. There was a lot of ignorance and prejudice amongst families, peers, and teachers within the community. I vividly recall my 7th grade theology teacher saying, "When people say happy holidays, I always reply, and Merry Christmas to you too." Another time, a girl next to me in class raised her hand and asked, "Aren't the Jews bad because they're responsible for killing Jesus?" And the teacher could not help but agree with her. At first, these statements didn't really affect or alarm me. I was an indifferent, apathetic 13-year-old. But as I began to develop my own set of morals and beliefs, the significance of these statements hit me and altered my feelings toward religion. I thought, maybe this isn't the kind of stuff I want to be surrounded by. My sophomore year of high school, I switched to a public school. Still, I found myself interested in Christianity, especially after I watched Spotlight. The film covers the unveiling of the clerical sex abuse scandal, as well as the Catholic Church's attempt to cover it up. Before this movie, I had never been aware that this was an issue, much less a worldwide issue. As I grew older and further from the church, my curiosity only deepened. I read a lot of articles about the church's role in the Spanish Civil War. The Nazis in the church sided with the rebels, creating a lot of violence, and the church referred to this as the New Crusade. In 1933, the Vatican made a treaty with Nazi Germany called Reichskonkordat to protect Catholics during the Nazi regime. The Vatican even went as far as to help hide Nazis after World War II. The church also ceased to speak out against the atrocities of the Holocaust or apologize for their part in World War II. Key members of the Vatican supported fascism in Italy. A lot of anti-Semitic literature was being produced by prominent clergy members. The early 1900s were a mess for the Catholic Church, specifically in Spain and Italy. Modern governments were trying to separate from the church and diminish the church's power. The church reacted by causing destruction, specifically during the Spanish Civil War, and publicly adopting racist and prejudiced beliefs. Despite all of this history, what I personally find the most horrific is the widespread molestation and rape of young children, largely by priests. Clerical sex abuse of children has occurred at an absurdly massive scale in the United States, in Canada, in parts of Europe, Asia, and Africa, in Australia, and in New Zealand. Seemingly wherever the church is present, this abuse occurred, including York, Pennsylvania, my hometown. From 2016 to 2018, the grand jury of Pennsylvania began an investigation into clerical sex abuse. In 2017, they attempted to publish a report of their findings, but the Diocese of Greensburg and Harrisburg, which is the Diocese of York, schemed to halt this investigation for fear it would make the church look bad. The report was finally published in 2018 with a list of 301 priests accused of raping or molesting over 1,000 minors. And yes, it did make the church look bad. One report describes a 17-year-old girl who was raped and impregnated by a priest from the Diocese of Scranton. The priest arranged for her to have an abortion. According to the York Daily Record, the bishop of the Diocese of Scranton wrote a letter stating, "This is a very difficult time in your life, and I realize how upset you are. I too share your grief." This letter was addressed to the priest, not to the girl. In 1981, a different priest molested a young boy, and later in life, the boy committed suicide. The priest's name was Reverend Richard J. Berry, and he was a priest at St. Joseph Dallastown, the same school where I endured ugly uniforms, mandatory masses, and trips to nursing homes. Unfortunately, victims committing suicide has occurred in far too many cases. In 2016, Pope Francis stated, I believe that the church not only should apologize to the person who is gay whom it has offended, but has to apologize to the poor, to exploited women, to children exploited for labor. It has to ask forgiveness for having blessed many weapons. This does not constitute as a direct apology, and he left out the rape and molestation of children. I choose not to affiliate with any religion. The church refers to people like myself as nuns, not to be confused with nuns, which is a very different thing. I like to say that we are called nuns because we want none of it. The majority of nuns are young white liberals. Studies show that this group, more than any other, identifies as atheist or non-religious due to a growing emphasis on individualism and personal freedom. But am I still a nun if I left, not due to personal freedom, but due to disillusionment, disgust, and anger? A lot of studies indicate that there are less religious people because fewer people are growing up in church communities. Other studies claim that those who were raised Christian were more likely as they entered college to become atheist or non-religious. Students themselves claim that in college they felt there was space for questioning and discovery. When I was younger and surrounded by Catholicism, I prayed a lot and took mandatory masses fairly seriously. I enjoyed feeling like I was a part of something, even if it required wearing ugly clothes and spending an absurd amount of time with old people. As I grew more informed, educated, and independent, I came to different conclusions. I am not a hateful person. I do, however, possess a passionate hatred for the Catholic Church. I look at its history, I look at its present, I look at how it has affected my life and the lives of others, and I hate it. I do not in turn hate all Catholics. It is the institution I find at fault, as well as the theology. Growing up Catholic and going to Catholic school only gives you one perspective, their perspective. It takes a moral awakening and a keen awareness of self to say, this is not me, this is not who I want to be. Thank you.